second half, would you believe, they shut them out without a first down. They made that Purdue football team look like a New York chorus line. 1, 2, 3, kick. 1, 2, 3, kick. Not gin, it's water, honest. The old man needs a little lubrication. But a week later, we were down in the state pit in Columbus, Ohio, facing Darth Vader Bruce and his scarlet and gray stormtroopers. And what a ball game that was. You know, I want to tell you fans something. You know, when this football team woke up that morning, there was no water in the motel. Would you believe that these players didn't shave, shower, scrub their teeth, or wash their faces? And I'll never forget it, the rest of it. And that morning, a cute little waitress came up to me and she says, you know, sir, she said it's a real big coincidence, but she said this is one of the finest motels in Columbus. We've been operating for 14 years, and there's only been 2 mornings in 14 years that we haven't had water. Once was 2 years ago when Michigan was here to play Ohio State, and again this morning. Isn't that a coincidence? Well, I assured her it was a fine coincidence, but I want to remind you folks here this afternoon that although these young men didn't have any water in the morning, between 12:30 and 3:30 that afternoon, they shut off Ohio State's water now. But they didn't play the game on paper. And I want to tell you that that's the day no Michigan fan will ever forget the day Ohio came to marry Michigan, all wrapped in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, the Buckeyes came to bury the Wolverines, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when that game was over, it was someone else instead. 22 Michigan Wolverines put on the gloves of gray, and as Becker played the victors, they laid Darth Vader Bruce away. They've done it all this year. And I think we ought to have a hand for the coaching job of Bo Schembecker. They are the finest coaching staff in the country. What a job they've done. Let's hear it for them. About 0-7 in the bowl games. Well, he's in good company. Bear Bryant was 0-9 from 66 through 75. He's won 4 in a row. That's what Bo will do eventually. But right now, he's 0-7. On the other side of that coin of 0-7 are 113 wins and only 14 losses. That's winning at the rate of 88% of his games. No one in the country approaches that in a regular season over the past 12 years. In 12 years of coaching Big Ten football, Bo Schembecker has led up 83 victories and lost only 10. That's winning at the rate of 90% of his conference games, and nobody in the 85-year history can match that record. He produced 25 All-Americans. He's the only coach. Michigan's the only school in the country to finish in the top 10 in the final AP and UPI polls every single January for 11 out of the last 12 years. And the score of every one of Bo Schembecker's games, 137 games at Michigan. The final score, the average, Michigan 30, the opponents 9. Nobody has a mark like that. I hope they got me yelling like this tomorrow and I use a whole bottle of this. You know, Bo Schembecker has a philosophy of football. These players know it, and we should all know it. You should know it. It's up on those locker room walls. What the mind can conceive and believe, the mind and body can achieve. Have you got that? What the mind can conceive and believe, the mind and body can achieve. And those who stay will be champions. 9 Big Ten championships in 12 years, unequaled in the history of Big Ten football. Right now, I'm going to change hats for a moment. I'm going to take off the hat of Bob Ufer, the voice of Michigan football, and I'm going to put on the hat of Bob Ufer, the M-Man. And I'm going to talk to another group of M-men, these Michigan players. They've done it all down through the years. And I guess you guys know that this old reporter, I love this great University of Michigan. I love football, and I think you fellas are something special. You know why? Because to me, you exemplify what Michigan athletics and Michigan athletes are all about. You not only have class, but you have met adversity individually, and met adversity and conquered it, so that you could be out and play on this great 1980 football team. And as a team, you come together with a cohesiveness, a spirit of core, and you have overcome adversities, a lot of them. And you won a championship that everybody said you couldn't do. And you know what you're going to do tomorrow? You're going to give the finest coach in America his first bowl game. That's what you're going to do tomorrow. I know we had 15-year reunions, and I've been to a lot of these reunions. You're going to have some. But there's one underlying thing characteristic of all these championship teams. There's always one thing that they'll never forget and they'll always remember. And you will have the same situation after that game tomorrow. I want to tell you right now that these championship teams, when they have their reunions, a lot of you guys are too young to remember Bo Schembechler's team in 1969. Jimmy Gibraltar goes about it. And they played an Ohio State team that was ranked by some as the finest team in a 100-year history of collegiate football. They had won 22 games in a row, fellas. They hadn't lost a game in 2 years. And yet Bo Schembechler had a team that had lost 2 ball games. They were a 17-point favorite. And they upset Ohio that day, 24-12. But you know what that 1969 team will never forget and always remember? Their Rose Bowl day over here in Pasadena that morning, their coach, your coach, had a heart attack. That afternoon, they'll never forget that score. Southern California 10, Michigan 3. 2 years later, 1971, Michigan had another great championship team. 11-0, unbeaten and untied. They had 4 All-Americans that year, Billy Taylor, Mike Taylor, Richard McKenzie, and Tommy Gardner. They won it all that year. They were the toast of the football world. You know what that 1971 team will never forget and always remember? Their Rose Bowl game. Stanford 13, Michigan 12. 1976. That was a great football team, a great championship team. They had Rob Lido, everybody's All-American. He finished 3rd in balloting for the Heisman Award. They blew a great Ohio State team and Woody Hayes right out of Columbus 22-0. But do you know what that team in 1976 will never forget and always remember? Their Rose Bowl game over here, Southern Cal 14, Michigan 6, 1977. Now we're moving into where you fellas, or some of you men were on that team. They had a great team. On paper like you this year, they shouldn't have beaten Ohio State. They whipped the Buckeyes that day, 14-6. You know what they'll remember? That they played the same team you're going to play tomorrow, the University of Washington. They were a 14-point favorite like you are tomorrow. You know what they'll never forget, what they'll always remember? Washington 27, Michigan 20. 1978, by the way. We have a score to settle tomorrow. You guys remember that on Washington. 78, a great football team. Some of you juniors and seniors were on that team. You remember Michigan and Notre Dame hadn't played each other in 35 years. They went over to South Bend, Indiana. They spotted the Fighting Irish, a 14-7 halftime lead, and they came back and beat Notre Dame and tarnished that Gold Dome 28-14. They went down to Ohio State and whipped the Buckeyes 14-3. But you know what they'll never forget, what they'll always remember? Southern California and the Phantom touchdown 17, Michigan 10. Now 1980, you fellas have done it all. You've won it, you've beaten Purdue on TV, you've beaten Ohio State on TV, you've won the big ones, haven't you? You've done it all. Fellas, I've been around long enough and you've been around long enough to know what I mean when I say they wrapped fish in yesterday's newspaper. What you did last fall, I want you to search your soul right now and ask each one of yourselves, how significant is what you did last fall going to be if you don't win that ball game tomorrow? You're going to win that ball game. You got it? And when you win it, not if you win it, when you win it, you're going to be able to say something that no Schembechler team has ever been able to say in the past. No Schembechler team will ever say in the future. You're going to be able to say that you gave one of the greatest coaches in the history of intercollegiate football his first bowl victory. You're going to win that ball game tomorrow. You're going to win it for Bo. You're going to win it for Michigan. You're going to win it for the team with the winningest tradition in the history of Big Ten football. You're going to win it for the sagging prestige of the Big Ten. You're also going to win it for the school that has the largest living alumni body in the world, over 300,000 of them, and they're all going to be behind you tomorrow. And you know, most of all, you're going to win it for yourselves. You're going to prove to yourselves that Notre Dame and South Carolina were flukes. And when you walk out of that stadium tomorrow afternoon with victory ringing in your ears, you're going to know that you could have been 12-0 in the season. And better yet, you're going to know down deep because you will have just shown 45 million on TV, along with 100,000 over there, that you are indeed the finest football team in America today. Fellas, I ask you from this point on, think victory, beat Washington. You've got 60 minutes of football and a lifetime to remember. And believe me, you will remember tomorrow's game as long as you live. We've got 5,000 diehard fans coming out of the Midwest. We have 45,000 more fans out here. We're going to have 50,000 fans out there cheering for our guys tomorrow. Well, a lot of them are right here today. They're here on the last day before the greatest game of your lives. And I want you, God darn this thing. I want you folks up there to show these young men how much we all appreciate what they've done. What they've done for Michigan and for themselves so far in 1980. Now I'm going to give the starting lineups, fellas, and I want each man to come up here. I want a verbal commitment from each starter. I don't want a long speech. Now wait a minute. Don't get worried. I don't want a verbal speech. I don't want a long sentence. All I want is 2, 3, no more than 4 words. You're going to win it for Michigan. You're going to crush the Huskies. I don't care what you say. And if you're so wrapped up in what you're thinking about winning this ball game, just grab the mic and say, "Go Blue." And then I want you to take this. Let me have that, Johnny. I want you to take this bow, George Matheson. And after you tell us what you're going to do, I want you to honk at what? And then listen, Becker, are you alive over there, baby? Okay. When you honk that horn, I want you fans to yell for 5 seconds like you've never yelled before. The offensive team for tomorrow's ball game. Beat Huskies tomorrow. Okay, the Henry Coles had a win all Big Ten, and in the hearts of all Michigan men and in his teammates, he's an All-American linebacker and co-captain, Andy Canavino. This game tomorrow is for Bo Shenbeck, one of my fellow senior classmates. Thank you. All right, we're going to finish things up. We're going to try a little something different. Tomorrow, Andy, and tomorrow, George. When things get going real well, and you want someone to share it with you, you throw your fists up in the air, you got it? Or if things are down and you want a little moral support, you throw your fists up in the air. Maybe it's between quarters, maybe it's after a big play. And when those fists go up by either captain, I want you folks to stand up, and the other 45,000 Michigan fans will stand up. And Becker, I want you to break out with the greatest college fight song ever written. I don't want any transfer anymore. We only got 25 seconds between plays. You hit the first word like hail to the victors. You got none of that fanfare stuff. We're going to practice right now. In just a second, we're going to have both captains throw their fists up in the air. When they do that, I want everybody in this Cotton Stadium on your feet. And then I want Becker to break out with the greatest college fight song ever written. We're all going to sing one chorus through, and then we're going to chant this team off the field into the line.